Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday. Yeah, what it is. Yeah, I'm looking. It's Tuesday, December 21st. I
It's
had to
Tuesday.
make sure. Do I have the right day? This is Morning Market Movers, where we do live analysis for day trading and we take a look at hot spots in the markets for the day. I'm Todd Rich with Nadex. With me from Keep Trading Simple, Brian Caprice. And we do have some things moving today. We have the big bounce, equities bouncing back after their sell off. We've got oil bouncing back. We've got silver spiking higher. So, a few hot spots in the markets to take a look at this morning. But before we do that, I do need to quickly share this disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone, that any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. As I mentioned, it is a bounce back. Here you can see oil doing a 50%, slightly more than 50% retracement on the Fibonacci's. We're going to see something similar to that in the equities. And then we do have silver, which is taking off a little bit this morning and heading higher. So it's a little bit of fun, some volatility. We knew there was going to be volatility as markets are thin. And then you know what, we get pounded because of Omicron, and now everyone's okay with it. So I think it's going to be like that through the end of the year. Brian, let me flip it over to you and let's just kind of jump in, take a look at some news headlines, and then take a look at the charts. Oil, equities, and silver.
Yeah. So the only data we had really this morning was Canadian retail sales, and it was kind of a split number. While the overall retail sales number came in at 1.6 versus 1, the core number came in a little bit less than expected. So it's kind of almost like they just switched them around a little bit by mistake there. But again, it is what it is. It's a split number. It is kind of good. Now, on the flip side of that, everything this day and age seems to be in fair balance. While this data for retail sales is good, there was also news yesterday that Quebec actually is now going back into the first stages of a lockdown. They've brought all their restaurants, bars, basically public establishments back to a 50% capacity. And actually, one of my students is up there, lives up there, and says, yeah, we're expecting it to be in Ontario pretty soon as well. So, we're seeing that. New Zealand is also locking down again, locking their border down. There's a statement about, where is it? I just saw it a second ago. I just had it up here. Yeah, here we go. New Zealand Omicron border restrictions is a final nail in a coffin for some tourism companies, from some tourism businesses. So again, starting to lock back down again. Interesting enough, we complain about our interest rates, and that's been really dominating our headlines. There's one from Turkey this morning. It's entitled "Hold My Lira." Watch this. It says, in Turkey, inflation sits around 21% and is forecast to rise to around 30% in 2022. Regardless, he continues to defend his rate cut policy in a high interest rate environment. So, one of those things, you're seeing inflation running kind of rampant, and
They have problems over there.
Yeah, they have major problems in Turkey right now as well. And again, it's this low rate environment is good for businesses, but inflation eventually, you got people think you can do something forever, and
it doesn't work that way, does it?
No. I mean, the reason there are cycles in the market is because it is healthy, right? Just like a forest. A forest has to have forest fires. Everyone thinks forest fires are bad. No, it gets rid of the dead, the decaying, the weak. That's what it does. It has to refresh the forest. The economy is no different. But unfortunately, trying to keep that rate and kind of keep it growing in an environment right now is extremely dangerous for his country. So, I don't know. It's getting crazy. On a positive note, again, it's all about fair balance. Japan upgrades economy for the first time in 17 months despite Omicron. But again, news from Canada, yesterday was the single highest recorded day of positive results. We are going to be getting headlines from Biden later today, I believe, in the news release I saw, because I guess testing kits are so sparse right now. I guess they're going to start sending testing kits to people's homes. So it's kind of I don't know if they're taking away the stimulus kid money and just sending out test kits, or I don't know. It's a strange time. I know that the governor, Jim Cramer, COVID positive. The governor of Maryland now, also positive. He was last week, bashing the counties here, and now he has COVID. So it's kind of one of those things, like, be careful, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. So it's been nuts.
So, and it's going to get worse. And we know it's going to get worse because of the holidays, and everyone is fed up, and they're going to get together anyway.
Yeah. So I think it's, like I said, it's a very the same article that I read all the headlines about what Biden is supposed to be saying today. The one interesting context is they said, and for kids, as it's always been, the symptoms are mild.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, they actually acknowledge that in kids, COVID from the very, very beginning has been very mild. Now, not that there hasn't been deaths and things like that, but it was interesting. You don't ever see that acknowledged. And they talked about
the challenge with the kids is that then they give it to the parents, and then it's not so mild. So
yeah, and it's one of those things.
They're delivery.
Yeah, well, the little super spreaders. If you have kids, you know what I mean. They go to daycare and everybody gets sick in the family. So it's but it's. And they brought up some other things that I think we're going to start seeing some changes. And again, whether they positive or negative, one of the thing, and again, this is why we're seeing the market movement that we're getting right now. There's a lot of things in the first 30, 60 days. There was a lot of kind of, back padding with it for a policy that's in, but they said, now there's been nothing done. We still don't have mixed dosing. They said over 70% of people have at least one or I guess have 2 doses. Just around 20% are fully boosted. And, I can say at least in Maryland, I got notifications left and right to get, my original ones. I never got anything for my booster. It's kind of weird. It's like, you know what? I've gotten 0 for it. It's strange. So less than 20% are actually boosted. And then they're saying they don't necessarily work. And I guess Moderna does. Came out with data last night that theirs is good. So again, that's why we're seeing probably a bit of a spike back, because there is some positive news that there is a vaccine out there that is effective right now.
I just think it gets a little overdone, and there's going to be a natural, all right, wash some people out and let them panic completely out, and then we'll see it come back.
Yeah. So, where this goes, I mean, who knows? Everything, like I said, everything's positive. Moderna works, but then there's more heart inflammation. So we can't win either way. So there's nothing. But anyway, market-wise, oil is actually rebounding back from yesterday. We mentioned it that we look forward to recurring back again. It ended up, I missed it by about an hour. I said that, look for that 10:30 reversal. It actually kicked in right around 11:30. So I missed it by 1 hour yesterday. And we talked about how the U.S. like their oil. They typically drive prices up, particularly when the Europeans send it down. And that's exactly what happened. It ended up going just slightly lower than the 66.50. It actually went down to 66.12-ish. It ended up not going all the way down to our second level, but that ended up being the reversal for the morning. Actually, it needs to be right there. So you can see quite a large day, basically straight down, straight back up again. And now we're hovering around that 50% fib retracement level. Interesting level right now. Again, it is coming off the same sellers from the Sunday gap. The gap area is actually sitting just right here. It's just a little bit higher. I'll change this to like a different color. You can see that purple level. That gap just happens to be at the 61.8. So very interesting spot that we are at right now in oil. And again, this is kind of what the European session looks like right now. It's been basically a straight up. Now, again, we'll see what the speeches look like today. It is Tuesday. We will get an API report later on this afternoon. I think all of those things are important. With it rallying back up again, I'm actually kind of at this point going into the more bearish focus of it. I'd like to see what the API report says, but like I said, as one large province shut down, another one will probably kind of tumble after that. And I know yesterday in my county, in my state, again, another county shut down sports because they're worried about the close contact and said that they're finding Omicron actually spreads decently well outdoors as well, which was not what we saw with Delta. So I'm not expecting a lot of positive news. And again,
we're going to yo-yo back and forth.
Yeah, lock in restaurants and things like that down. Any large spike in oil, unless we all of a sudden get a pill that says, hey, you know what? We have cured Omicron. We don't have to worry.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, nothing is trending in a great direction. So I'm kind of looking for any type of news. When Biden talks, this could turn and roll. Really, any type of news event. But again, the higher this rallies up, I'm looking for potential, sells in oil. I think that's the right thing to do. And again, natural gas is also having a big day, but you can see it whipped all the way back down again to the European session, and then whipped all the way back right up again. So again, volatility. If you like the energies, volatility is over on the natural gas side, and again, oil is just taking more of a slow grind off some of these larger levels. I will say the VIX is a bit down today. You can see from yesterday, the VIX came all the way back down. And again, this is Monday. Oh my God, everything's going to close down. Okay, the world didn't end on Monday, and now we're kind of stabilizing. We are kind of in an area, though, where if this was a regular stock equity position, I would be like, hey, we should look to get long. I would expect today, again, there will be some volatility and things like that around what President Biden says. Like I said, I don't have his transcript. There's an article that says these are the things that he's potentially going to talk about. until we actually hear it, nobody really knows. And like I said, it's only going to take a couple more people, getting sick. And like I said, I know Maryland's numbers are
I
off the
got to
chart. And
imagine he's really gonna be hounding that those who are unvaccinated go get vaccinated, because it does take down the severity of the disease if you've been vaccinated. That's my guess, and he's going to tell us, "Here we go again. Here it comes."
Well, he said he's mobilizing the army, so we're mobilizing the army to go to hospitals. They said what the article talked about is the big crisis with this next one is not so much that the deaths are on the rise, because we're not seeing the deaths, but when you have COVID, you can't go to work. Yeah, they said 30 to 40% of the hospital staff will end up contracting COVID, and they'll have to go home. So the hospitals will be totally short staffed. Again, it's this comes after, again, it's all fair balance. This comes after a month after a lot of people left that industry because they were being forced to get vaccinated. But yet the 30 to 40% of the staff that is vaccinated is going to have to go home because they have COVID. So it's a mess. I mean, but anyway, VIX,
so let's look
down,
at the S&P. Yeah, I mean, you see the VIX coming down. That's because you got the S moving higher.
Yeah, and like I said, Monday's over, so you would expect to see this. So, ES yesterday, we talked about a level. We had a potential, Harry Potter trade. It never triggered, but that was the bottom. NQ did the same exact thing, and NQ bounced off that same level. So these are two trades that we had. If they were able to break through, they were not able to break through. We had two shorts, and they rallied back up again. And again, ES is in a very interesting spot. It's right back up at that 4,600 level. I would say right now, looking at this, and again, we got a little bit of time. We got a couple more 15-minute candles to go before we actually get in there. But right now, after this big rally up from yesterday, I don't know. The president goes on and starts talking about how dire things actually are and about how much spreading is going to happen, and using terms like, if you're not vaccinated, you're going to die. I wouldn't say that that's the most positive way to kind of lead into this. So I would say right now I'd be looking more for kind of a true top in this to turn and roll back down again. Europeans have kind of let it slide higher, but we are at a psychological level right here. There's not really necessarily strong sellers really until the purple line, which is up at 46.20. So we do have a little bit more room to run, but then we could have a fall back to 45.50 rather quickly. NQ, same thing. You guys can see it's literally riding right along this level at 15,800. Again, it's an area where, if we were to draw it, and this is a European session level, but there you go, right there. We're kind of at that level where we've seen sellers step in. There was a gap there previously in the past. It was a pretty forceful drop going into the open. Again, we expect to see, there's no numbers, so it's all going to be headlines and emergency meetings and things like that. So that's bad. Here was the one long that we had yesterday. We talked about a 1030 reversal. We say, hey, listen, we're in an area of buyers right down here at 35, 575. This could be it. And it was slow. It took till about 1 o'clock, but then that was the takeoff point. Yesterday morning we were sitting right here, and we're talking about a level a little bit lower. Again, 1030, could it be a reversal? And it was. That was the true reversal. But same thing. Last time we were here, we looked for a Harry Potter confirmation, a break of 35,131. It came down and bounced off of it, and we're also kind of doing the same thing now. So ES, NQ, YM, all in areas where we're kind of in sell mode. And Russell's is a little bit different. This one actually did bounce around, go through a bunch of levels, but you can see there was a bit of a gap and a very, very strong push. And that's also kind of what we just kind of took off after. So, like I said, maybe Biden comes out and says, hey, listen, we found the cure for Omicron. Don't worry, have your parties. But it kind of sounds like it's going the opposite direction. They're telling people to cancel travel plans. They're telling people to not do family gatherings, because right now Omicron is catchy enough. Not that the symptoms are crazy, but all the methods that we had before. Yeah. Let's not push it, because we're already at. I got a text a little while ago that Baltimore hospital capacity is at 90% already, and the holiday hasn't even happened. So,
yeah, and it's coming.
Like I said, Omicron is. Omicron is a big. Yeah, Omicron is the big thing. And remember, with Omicron, there's a lot of risk. People hate government. Bitcoin's back up 4% today, and that seems to be like, okay, well, we got to get out of these methods. I need to start protecting. And same thing with gold and silver. Gold is still 1,800. Silver is up 1.70%. It had its kind of downward trend trajectory and broke it, and then bounced off of it higher. And again, using the channel here, you can see that I'm gonna have to adjust it in a sec. Hold on. This would be here. This one goes right here. You can see we're literally riding the top, and what did it do? It broke through, came up, and then exploded higher. So we did have a channel down in silver, and it just broke higher. It's got a little bit more room to run. But again, seeing assets go back into gold, silver, Bitcoin, and then at the same time looking at TLT bonds way down, you would think everything is great. Everything's going to be wonderful. But, we'll see where that turns. And like I said, VIX is slowly starting to creep a little bit up. And again, every one of these indices is an area where we have seen sellers in the past. And again, I don't have the crystal ball, but it's one of those things, the way that I trade, I'm looking for areas of buyers and sellers, especially when they're fresher, and we kind of have that in all of them.
All right.
So,
And I want to remind everyone, Brian's going to be doing a full-blown session in 3 hours. I dropped the link to register into the chat. Please join in 3 hours, and Brian will go through all of these. He'll go through, take a look at what happened during the open, and then also talk about potential setups for the next couple of days. We are closed on Friday. It is a holiday on Friday. So we've got the shortened week, but we do have some things to look forward to tomorrow, and especially Thursday, the day before the holiday. And we've got that huge PCE, the personal consumption expenditure number coming out. So again, stay tuned. There's going to be more volatility in the markets this week. With that, any questions for Nadex, please email us, customerservice@nadex.com. Any questions for Brian, you can catch him at support@keeptradingsimple.com. What did we talk about today? We're seeing the bounce this morning. Everything's set to bounce. Equities bouncing, most of them hitting at least the 38% Fibonacci retracement level. A couple of them hitting the 50% Fibonacci retracement level, but we're definitely bouncing back after the sell-off. The question is, what are we going to hear today? How are people going to continue to react to what's going on with Omicron, and how are the markets going to adjust to it? Seeing the same thing in oil, and then silver spiking higher. Interesting move in silver, back in play. Brian, we'll catch you in 3 hours. Join in 3 hours when Brian does the full day. Otherwise, we will be back tomorrow morning. So until then, thank you for joining, and good luck in the markets.